I have been very interested in this movement of re-establishing the imagination as a way of being embodied, because the imagination lives through the body. When you have a dream, which I take as the primary paradigm of imagination, when you take a dream and you're meeting a monster, you go and when you go that way, your whole body reacts, so the imagination works directly on the body. Dreaming is creating all these beings, and therefore you can get access to the monster just as much as you can get access to the one who's running away from the monster. And if you become identified with the monster and begin to feel the monster from within his own monstrosity, then frequently you'll find a very sad character, somebody who's really feels monstrous and is trying to connect. In a dream, you can see that there are various centers of consciousness present simultaneously. So if you have a dream in which there is a person being chased by a dog and the person is very frightened and the dog is very aggressive, then there are at least two states of consciousness there present at the same time. Everything that happens in a dream is a product of imagination. Everything has, when you look at it, is a presence, and you can get into the awareness of that presence. You can do that through a process of identification. So let me tell you about the process of identification. The first stage of the identification process is careful observation, empathic careful observation. Then you go through a process of interior miming. That is that you not through actual movement, but through very subtle movements in your body begin to become like the dog. You begin to notice how the dog is running, and you begin to feel it as traces in your own body. And as you do that, your body becomes similar to the body of the dog. And then there's an unconscious process, something that is outside of volition, an unconscious process that pulls you in, and suddenly you're identified with the dog and you begin to experience the world from the point of view of the dog. That is the identification process. If you are identified with the dog, fully identified with the dog, you become like the dog. You can sense the dog is completely present. If you do that in dual consciousness, you feel the presence of the dog completely, and at the same time you know you're sitting in a chair in a room with people around you. That is dual consciousness.
Do you connect that to language?
To language?
Yes, that's another process, it must be, because first it's in your body. You just assume that then we have words to express it?
Words don't matter. She gives it a name. She calls it rage. Mm-hmm. It may not have to do anything with rage, but it's the name. It doesn't matter what she calls it. But it is just, that's a label for this whole embodied experience. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in the embodiment. That's why I call it embodied imagination. I am less interested in the language, because I think the language is secondary. I think that language is relatively late in our development, that we learn language, and we get most of this stuff that we're dealing with is pre-verbal. The tradition that I'm coming from is trying to restore the imagination as a realm of reality, and therefore we are separating the notion of imagination from imaginary, and that through imagination you can get true knowledge. You can get knowledge that is as true as the knowledge that you can get of the world of matter through the senses, or the world of forms through mathematics. It's equally true. But you have to know how to do it, like in the same way that somebody who's never trained cannot do mathematics. You cannot use imagination if you haven't trained yourself into it. So what we're trying to re-establish is a training of imagination as a discipline. imagination as a discipline.